What is up, Nickel City Mafia? Going live on a Friday night, 10 o'clock on the East Coast. I hope we got some of our East Coast folks up to join us there in the channel shortly. Um, the face of the franchise joins me. I'm Mike Thornton. Face of the franchise, Mr. Jake Podger. Jake, how you doing, man? We're going into Super Bowl weekend. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Could be doing a little bit better if we were playing in it, but appreciate you calling me the face of the franchise, Mike. You're giving me a big head. My head's going to explode one of these days, but I appreciate the hell out of you. Kind of cool to be, I'm wearing the same hoodie actually in that clip,
Yeah.
so kind of funny. But yeah, I got Brandon Beane and his presser behind me here, and I'm ready to talk some football. I'm ready to put my GM hat on, ready to put my I guess my thoughts to the rest of the crowd here and see what they think of it.
Yeah, we're going to get into free agents' decisions, some of the big decisions that the Bills have to make this upcoming this upcoming season. And then we're going to get into some free agent targets that we see that might be a fit for the Bills. So that's going to be a lot of fun. But real quick, before we get into that, I want to say, who are you taking in the game this Sunday? Who are you taking for the win?
I'm sticking with my pick. We did a Super Bowl show, by the way, guys. For those of you that are watching, go back and tune into that if you haven't already. I went with the Eagles in my pick, and I still am going to stand by it. I know a lot of people are on the Eagles hype train, but I think the Eagles are going to win this one handily, Mike. I just have a gut feeling about it. I don't know why. I'm thinking like 36-19. That was my score prediction. So I'm going to stick with it. I'm not backing down. And hammer the over.
All right, I like the over as well. I like so I want the Eagles to win, but I feel Patrick Mahomes is going to work some magic and get one this year. I just feel he is. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll definitely see. So it's going to be should be a good game as long as it's entertaining. That's all we can ever hope for. If our team's not in it, let's just hope for an entertaining Super Bowl Sunday. So let's get into it. So we're going to talk about some of the free agent decisions that the Bills have to make. And obviously, like I said before, we're going to talk about some free agent targets that Jake and I see that might be a fit for this team. Before we do any of that, we got to free up some money, Jake, right? We got to free up some money to spend. And right now, the current cap for the NFL for teams is $226.5 million, roughly. The Bills currently sit at about $20 million over the cap. But we're not going to go player by player. We're going to kind of summarize some things. There's a lot of content already out there. But I read a great article on a site called The Athletic. You might have heard of it.
Yep.
Unfortunately, I was going to give you the link, but it is a subscription site. It's $1.99 a month.
Yeah.
But anyhow, you can also get Bruce Feldman's Freak List, which is absolutely fantastic for when we get into the draft. He puts on there all the college guys that are just absolutely talented. They calls them the freak list. Anyhow, so I was reading this article on The Athletic, and basically it starts with restructuring contracts. So it starts right off the top with Josh Allen. And again, when you restructure, the players have to be okay with this. Most of the times they are. And Jake, I'm going to throw it to you in a little bit to kind of talk to the folks about when we say restructure, what is the typical case for that? But anyhow, in this article, just restructuring Josh Allen gets us right at the cap, and then restructuring a bunch of other folks that we have on a team, we can get to basically $35 million under the cap. That's just with restructuring contracts.
Yeah.
Then if you want to take some cap casualties, such as moving on from Mitch Morse, and I'm not saying we're going to do this. I'm just giving you ideas of how Beane can get very creative. But let's say if you were to move on from Mitch, you got $6 million right there. Let's say you were to move on from Nyheim Hines. Is he worth $5 million in your opinion? You got Isaiah McKenzie, Tim Settle. These are all guys that you can release, cap casualties, and just right there with those four guys that I talked about, you got $16 million. There's a couple other that you can look at as well, and that would be restructuring or extending Ed Oliver, because right now he's set to make $10.75 million this year. And if you believe he's part of the future for you, why wouldn't you, create restructure his contract? And actually, it would be an extension to him.
Right.
And then there's also Micah Hyde. So Micah Hyde would be a good candidate for a short-term extension because of his age. So all said and done, you're looking at what I said, $35 million, $16 million, and maybe another 5 or 10 you can squeeze with the last three that I talked about. You're roughly around 50, if I do my math right, 51, $56 million roughly. Again, the problem with that is you now got to take that money and fill all these holes that you
Right.
have, right? Before we get into the free agents that we got to look at. So with that 56 million, we have to pay any of the free agents that we currently have on our team that we want to bring back. There's 24 of them, Jake. 24 of
Yeah.
them. And their current salaries from last year, all totaled together, are $54 million.
Leaving
54
us
million.
with 2.
Yeah, right. So obviously, we're not bringing all those folks back from last year, but we'll
Right.
go through the list here shortly. So before I get into that side of things, what's your thoughts? I mean, summarize easily, kind of define what is when we say restructure. What's the typical way that teams restructure a contract?
Yeah. So restructuring essentially means that it could be a couple of things. It could be basically taking a pay cut this year and making more later on in terms of whether it's a bonus, roster bonus, or something along those lines. Basically, it's allowing the team to save cap now. They still, I mean, the contracts that these guys have that you mentioned, a lot of them are guaranteed, and Josh obviously has guaranteed money and whatnot. But there's different ways that you can kind of milk it and put it into his contract over time. So, seeing that the team is sort of in a win now mode, this is what Tom Brady did too throughout his entire career. He would just keep restructuring to build cap room to allow the team to sign weapons. So, yeah, as you mentioned, Mike, it has to be okayed by the player. They have to be good with it. But I can't imagine, I'm not going to speak for Josh, but I feel like, it would make sense for him to maybe restructure his deal and, maybe he puts however many million on the back end of his deal, that's guaranteed still. But right now, we're going to save some money and we're going to bring in some other weapons. So that's essentially what it is. Again, there's other ways that you can get around it too with bonuses and like incentives that you can also tack onto it in the end of it as well. So there's a lot of different ways you can go about it. I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but that's generally what it is.
Right. And I'm no expert either, but I rely on other folks that do know this space. And we know that Bean's very creative. We know that Bean's a genius at working the cap.
Yeah.
And like I said, I already showed you how we can open up anywhere from 31 to $55 million in cap space. Most of that was 35 million was just restructuring contracts
Right.
if they want to go as far as they could. And that again is if players agree to that. But let me ask you, Jake. So I talked about cap casualties.
Yeah.
One of the big names on there right now is Mitch Morse. Right, Mitch Morse is set to make, I think, a little over $11 million, somewhere around there, if we were to let him go. And we don't know. We don't know if Mitch is going to decide to retire, or we make that decision for him.
Right.
But if you were to release him, you open up $6 million
Right.
in cap space, right? So what's your thoughts on Mitch?
It's such a tough decision to make because this is a guy that has done a lot for our team. I think he's one of the best centers in the league. A Pro Bowler this year. He played through injury. He had his 6th concussion diagnosed. He's probably had more than that. So it's hard to just cut a guy like that. But it's a business. It's ruthless. And I understand why they would do it just based on, if he gets another concussion, he's probably done. I mean, he should probably already be done. That's not, speaking for him again. Like, I don't want to speak for Josh Allen. I don't want to speak for Mitch Morse either. It's totally his move, whether he wants to continue playing. Another thing is too, if he stays on the team and he gets hurt again, obviously you're out all that money, but then you might have to come to terms with like an injury settlement or something like that too. So there's a lot that can come into play with it. So I would understand the reasoning behind releasing a guy like that, but the thing is then you have to really value taking a center in the draft, in my opinion, because that's a guy that's really not easily replaceable. I mean, I know we have Ryan Bates, we have other guys that can play the center position, but like, I don't know, man. You want someone playing at a high level. That's a tough guy to replace. So there's two sides of the coin there. I see why you would do it. I mean, it saves us $6.16 million, which is huge. But there's the other side of it where it's like, man, if he's healthy and he can play, why would you want to get rid of him?
Right. I agree with you there. I mean, Mitch can make the decision for us. He can say, look, I've
Yeah.
had those concussions, talk to my family, I'm done. But
And
even if,
maybe they do come to he retires, they come
yeah,
to like an injury settlement or something like that where he still saves his cap room in the long run anyways. There's still that possibility too.
yeah. Or he says, I'm ready. I'm still playing, guys. I want to win with
Right.
this team. And I would love him to stay on this team because he is that center's the drummer of the band. I always say that. And he's such a key person. He's been with Josh. They have a great chemistry. Something else you could do with him is do a short term extension with him, right? Take
Mhm.
that 10.6 and maybe do a 2 year extension, this year and next year. And then that way you can bring some of that cap, down
Right.
as well. You can open
Yep.
some cap space there. So there's a possibility there. Like I did mention Ed Oliver. There's a possibility there. He's in his last year, 10.75. If the Bills think he's a person for them long term, why not do a long term extension for him? And then Micah Hyde, of course. So it's going to be interesting for sure. So Bean is a genius. I just wanted folks to know, set the stage that cap space could be opened up. Okay, don't think you probably heard we're 20 million over, but just getting Josh to re-sign, restructure, we're dead even, and now all these other ones could bring us down significantly.
Right.
So now we're going to get into some of the tough decisions. I'm going to go through. This should be putting the pressure on Jake here. There are 24 current free agents that were on our team last year for the Bills. I'm going to go down the list, Jake, and I want you to tell me, yes or no, are you bringing them back? Put on your bean hat. By the way, disclaimer: we love all these guys. We love
Yes.
all these guys. But
No hard feelings. This
No
is
hard
this is
feelings.
strictly business.
Right.
'Cause I have a hard time with this too. Emotional attachment, it's there. I
Yeah.
don't want to see anyone go, but it's the reality of the business, plain and simple.
Yeah. And for me, I'm just putting it out there that I am focusing on more of the offense this year, not only in the draft, in free agency. And I'm okay with that defense slipping a little bit. But let's go down this list. Yes or no, Jake? We'll circle back around for some of the bigger names like Poyer and Edmonds. But quickly, here we go. Jordan Poyer, yes or no?
So you're saying this is possible? Like they're
Are you bringing him back?
no.
Okay.
I hate
Rod-
saying that.
We're
really
we're going to
kills me.
circle back. I'll give you time. We'll talk about that. Roger Saffold, yes or no?
No.
Case Keenum,
On a veteran minimum deal.
he had $6 million last year. I have an idea for him. But,
Yeah,
all
it's
right.
not going to happen. You're
So
right.
you're saying
So I'll say no.
they'll say no. Okay. Jordan Phillips.
Yes.
Okay. Tyler Matakevich.
No.
Tremaine Edmonds.
Yes.
Ooh, okay.
Yep.
Jamison Crowder.
Yes.
Okay. Questenberry.
No.
Probably should say positions, as a lot of folks may not
Yeah,
know
so
the
right
positions
tackle.
for this place.
David
He's right
Questenberry.
tackle.
Yep. Yep.
Running back, Tywan Jones.
No.
Punter, Sam Martin.
Yes.
Of course, yeah. Obviously, he really filled in great last year.
Hell yeah.
Guard, Greg Van Roten.
Good depth piece, can play center. I say yes.
Okay. Ike Bucker.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's a good one, Jay. I mean, he's going to be dirt cheap. Why not?
Right.
He's coming off that Achilles heel, I believe, injury.
Yeah.
Shaq Lawson.
Yes.
Bringing him back. Okay. Here's your boy. And Sean, if you're listening, Jake Kumaro.
No.
Yeah. I'm done with I'm done
It's
with Jake.
tough, man. Yeah. I hate to say it. Touchdown Jesus is no more. I hate to say it. It's it.
Dean Marlowe.
No.
Bobby Hart.
This is a tricky one. I'm going to say yes, just because of how much utilization he had. He played a lot of snaps this year. Not necessarily at the right guard position, right tackle position, left guard position. He played as an eligible lineman a lot of the plays. So I'm going to say yes.
Okay. Let's go with AJ Klein,
I'll say yes.
Justin Murray.
No. Didn't we cut him though? Well, or did he sign back to the practice squad? Or
No, I mean he's currently shown in Spot Track as an
okay,
unrestricted free agent.
interesting. Yeah.
We'll circle back around this one as well, but Mr. Singletary, Devin Singletary, running back for the
Oh
Bills.
man, Mike! Wow, this is your guy. I think under certain circumstances, I would say yes.
I'll say this right now that Spot Track is saying the market value for him is around $5 million, which I think is high.
That's really
But
high.
let's say that is true, $5 million. You're going
I'm
to
gonna
say
say
yes. Are you going to say no based
I'm
on
gonna
that
say no, not for
information?
$5 million.
All right. All right. Tyrell Dotson, linebacker.
I think he's gone already. He kind of said his farewell on Twitter, so I'll say no.
Okay. How do they say farewell? I mean,
Yeah,
how do they do that already? I don't know why.
I think
now,
they're pretty much given a heads up on whether or not the team is planning on, them being a part of their future, and they can
Well,
kind of get a sense for that.
well, he's a restricted free agent, so I don't even know
Right.
how he's saying that because he can go get an offer
Yeah.
from another team, and the Bills can decide to match it.
Right, that's true.
Another restricted free agent, Dane Jackson.
Yes.
Cam Lewis, another restricted free agent.
I'll say yes, just because of versatility.
I like that call. Jaquan Johnson.
No.
That was your guy, Jake. That was
I know.
your guy.
I know. That hurts. It hurts.
And finally, Tommy Sweeney.
Whew. I'll say no. That one hurts too because, man,
He doesn't really get a lot of playing time. When he's in there, it's for blocking.
Right.
Whenever he's had a chance, whenever they throw him the ball, he's
he's
very
been good.
receiver.
Yeah, he's
He
been
can catch
good.
the
It
ball.
just
All right, so out of the 24 free agents, Jake, you had 13 of them not coming back, which is about 50%. So
Yeah.
interesting. Let's circle back around for some of these. Jordan Poyer. I totally agree with you. Look, I love Jordan Poyer. But I'm not going to pay the man $12 million. Now, again, you could argue that they could come up with a 3-year plan and backload it. So if he's going to get 12, I think the market value for him, he's looking for around $11, $12 million. You can backload that. But for me, I am hoping that the Bills take Christian Benford, who played safety a little
Yes.
bit at Villanova, who was an absolute stud, started for the Bills at corner last year, got dinged up. We didn't see much of him towards the latter part of the year. But I'm hoping they move on with somebody younger. I hate to say that. I want to save the money for something else and move on, especially at his age. And if you have to do a 3-year deal and you're backloading that, now, he's already starting. You're starting to see the injury bug hit him more and more every year. So I'm agreeing with you there. I am not bringing him back. Any further thoughts on the Jordan
I think that's a
Poyer?
great point that you make, Mike. A lot of people have seemed to have forgotten that we have Christian Benford. The whole reason why we drafted this kid is because he's so versatile. He's able to play 2 different positions. I mean, you saw him thrive at the corner position, but his natural position was actually safety. So for him to make that conversion from safety to corner, that's very difficult. I don't think there will be any issue with him going back to safety. So I think that's a real possibility. As far as Jordan Poyer goes, man, this was the one I struggle with the most. And if there is any possible way to keep him, I want to, but it's tough with what I said, re-signing Tremaine Edmonds, if that happens, or even franchise tagging him. I don't know what we're going to do there, but if I'm prioritizing between him or Tremaine Edmonds, I think I have to prioritize Tremaine Edmonds.
Okay, that's fair. Let's see. I agree with you on Saffold. I agree with you on Keenum. And I have a plan for Keenum, but I'll talk about it when we look at some free agent targets. I agree with you on Tyler. I agree with you on Jordan Phillips. He was paid $5 million. So if we're going to, bring him back, he might be looking for that same.
Well, I have a
amount of
reason
money.
for that. I have a reason for that as well.
Okay. Edmonds, I differ. I've been going back and forth on this, Jake, for
Okay.
about a week and a half since I knew we were going to do the show. I've listened to all kinds of different shows. I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to move on. Like, look, he's going to bring I'm seeing $17 million a year, 5 or 6 year contract in some places where I'm seeing some shows say. And while yes, he's young, you can bring him back. And I see all these shows talking about his great coverage skills.
Yeah.
But I've seen it with my own eyes. The run stopping skills just haven't impressed me enough. And again, I'm not an X and O guy. I can only tell you what I see on the field. And it frustrates me where I didn't look up the tackles, TFLs. I know this was his best year by far, right? Of course, it's a contract year.
Yeah.
Most people have their best year in their contract year. But the TFLs just haven't been there enough for me. And again, it could be the scheme the Bills play. But I'm ready to move on. Your boy Spectre, step on it, Spectre. Let's go.
Well, I'll tell you this. There's a noticeable drop-off when Tremaine Edmunds is not playing. And I think with him and Matt Milano, they feed off of one another. Matt Milano is that guy that's going to make plays at the line of scrimmage. And Tremaine Edmunds is that 6'5" guy in the middle of the field that no quarterback is going to throw over or throw near. And he has the big play potential. I think he can still be that guy too with the TFLs and all that stuff. I mean, he showed a little bit of that towards the end of the year. He made some big plays that juiced up the defense. And I understand your thought process with him just not doing that enough. But I do think it's also the scheme that's holding him back. And as of right now, Leslie Frazier and Sean McDermott, they're going to run that scheme. It looks like. I mean, we're staying the same on defense. So, I think with that, keeping that in mind, it calls for us to probably bring him back. So that's my reasoning. But I understand where you're coming from. It does make sense.
Yeah, no. I like I said, I've battled with this back and forth. But I'm wanting to spend a lot more money on the offense. And if that means I can take that Edmunds money and bring in a right tackle in free agency, a strong right tackle, while Spencer Brown continues to learn, have him as a backup, I'd rather do that. I'd rather sacrifice that because I don't want to see the Bills ever scoring 10 points in a game again, unless it's a blizzard or unless it's a hurricane winds like we had a couple years ago against the Patriots. 10 points, just not going to get it done.
Yeah.
Give me some players on the field. We still have some very good players, and I think we can even, maybe in free agency, bring in a guy or two on the cheap, which will help that defense elevate a little bit. So that's my only reason is like I really want to focus on the offense with the money that we're going to be spending.
That's totally valid because I'll tell you what, like we allowed 27 points defensively and we had nothing to show for on offense. So there were no adjustments made. Josh does not have the weapons that Joe Burrow has. Not only that, he didn't have time to throw the football either. So there was just so many things that went wrong there. And I think it's an absolute valid point. You want to take all your money and just spend it on offense. I don't care if you let up 30 points a game. If you score 40 a game, it doesn't matter. So yeah, I get where you're coming from.
I am. Again, I said this, I think, on the last show. I'm super worried. If you let a guy like this go, he's so young. Let's say he goes to the Jets.
Yeah.
I think Robert Saleh, I think I'm saying his name right. I always say his name wrong.
Yeah.
Saleh. He's been talking highly. He's always talked highly of Edmunds. And can you imagine he goes and plays for the Jets? By the way, I think the Jets do have a good amount of salary cap space.
That would be disgusting.
Right,
I mean, you're talking C.J. Mosley, Tremaine Edmunds, and then you got the other kid, whatchamacallit's brother, Quincy. My gosh, I'm forgetting the last name now, but you got some stud linebackers there playing. So,
yeah,
I mean, that would just be unreal.
By the way, I do recognize you see out there, Brett. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you, man, all the time. He's got some good points here. I love how he went through and was going right down the list with us, saying who should stay, who should go. Let me see here. I think he went with, he wants to bring Edmunds back.
I love it.
He wants to bring Poyer back.
Quincy Williams. My gosh. Quinnen Williams' brother. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of, by the way.
And then he said, if you look at Tremaine's stats each year, he's been better every year. This was by far his best year, which is true. Like I said, always interesting that it's in a contract year. He still doesn't have the instincts like Luke Kuechly did in Carolina. And that's my problem. Brett. I mean, yes, great coverage. Okay. But I want a guy that's going to be making plays when you need it at the line of scrimmage.
Right.
That's my only thing. That's my thing. I love the guy. I think the kids. I'm so scared if they don't make this move and he moves on. I might be like, I don't know. I'd be
Well,
like, damn it! Why did I say we should let this kid go? Because look what he's doing now, right? And in a
so
different
this is
scheme.
it's an
Sorry, go ahead.
interesting point. No, it's an interesting point. I mean, you're talking about the scheme and all that stuff, but the guy that we just hired, Al Holcomb, Brett makes a great point here. He was the linebacker coach when they had Luke Kuechly. So you want a guy to develop into a Luke Kuechly, here's your opportunity. I think, he was blessed with Thomas Davis and Luke Kuechly on that defense, but I think a lot of people are kind of upset with the signing because it's another Carolina guy, but this guy understands. I think he is by far, this is a really underrated signing in my opinion. I know I said the same thing about Aaron Cromer last year, Mike,
I
but
was just going
I
to say
really
that
love
too.
this. Yeah, I really do love this. I think this is great. I think it does point to maybe the Bills looking to resign Tremaine because they brought him in. It's a possibility.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I hope you're not trying to sell me on this guy like
I
you
know.
did Cromer, because I want my money back. No, I did say, I did say that, Spencer Brown, I want him to work one more year under Cromer before I say he's done. I'm not done with him. We got him on a low contract. He's very athletic. We got Blake in there. Good to see you, Blake. He thinks Tremaine will never get there. Well, I think he was saying we'll never get there. And
Yeah.
I kind of agree with you, Blake. I've seen enough. I don't know. But I am scared, totally scared if we let him go. But I'm going to make the call for me. I'm not re-signing Edmonds.
That's fair. Do you remember, though, when we re-signed Matt Milano? I think a lot of people felt like we overpaid for him. And now
Yeah.
look at it.
Yeah.
And I get Tremaine's in a different ballpark with money too, even because Matt Milano was 3 years, 40 million or something like that. This is even more expensive. He's probably going to be upwards of 15, 16 million a year. Realistically, you look at the Roquan Smith deal, he kind of jump started the market a little bit more for off ball linebackers. So yeah, I understand the concern with the money for sure. And I do think you make a very good point, Mike, because you want to allocate all funds to offense after watching that pitiful performance against the Bengals.
Yeah, and if you guys are saying that, what's his name? You guys are just saying L. What's his name?
Al Holcomb.
Holcomb.
Yep.
If he's as
Yep.
good as he is, why couldn't he elevate one of our other linebackers that we have?
You're right.
Now, I will say this. Terrell Bernard, worst pick ever. Like, if we were trying to groom somebody to replace Edmonds, what the hell were we thinking, Jake? Please tell me.
I think so. With him at Baylor, he was a really good blitzing linebacker. And we thought maybe he would be utilized in blitz packages. And sometimes we'd run 3 linebackers or have him on the field for specific blitz packages and whatnot. And it just didn't happen this year. Another big perk of him was that he's fast. He can keep up with tight ends, slot receivers, and he can play in coverage. And we just didn't see it this year. We only saw special teams. He made some good plays on special teams, and he was starting to develop a little bit. You saw it towards the end of the year. So I'm not ready to give up on him. I think it is a little disappointing seeing him be a 3rd-round pick and come in and not really show much on the defensive side of the ball. But I don't think there was a ton of opportunity given to him. And I feel like with Sean McDermott, like, rookies always take a little bit longer to develop. Like, those guys, especially 2nd and 3rd round picks, for whatever reason, it's almost as if he purposely doesn't play them as much. We saw it with Boogie Basham, AJ Epinesa. Like, it's been a noticeable trend. So I would like to see more of him. I'm not ready to give up on him just yet. And you look at his size, it is actually, I think it's somewhat similar. I mean, he's 6'1", 224, Luke Kuechly. Let's put in, I don't think Luke was all that big either, to be honest with you. So,
Brett, I know Spot Track has Tremaine around 11. I've seen some other places thinking that he can get up to about 15, 17 million a year. So we'll see on that one.
Luke Kuechly was 6'3", 238. That's on me. He looked a lot leaner than that, and I'm not trying to compare Terrell Bernard to Luke Kuechly because they are not even in the same ballpark. There's nowhere close. I mean, Luke Kuechly's a Hall of Fame linebacker. I'm just saying if we can get an ounce of that out of Terrell Bernard, I think that'd be great.
I just think maybe it says something because, look, if they knew the situation with Edmonds, they knew that was coming up, and they didn't do anything to address it. I don't know if they thought maybe Spector would be that guy. I don't know, and maybe he could be.
I love Baylon Spector.
I know you're a fan of his. But the fact that they didn't really address it and they took Bernard in the third, I'm sure there were a ton of other guys that would have filled that middle linebacker position better than Terrell Bernard. Maybe they are thinking they're going to work something out, but I don't know. It's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see exactly what they do there. We got Brett
Zach
asking
Reiner
about,
and Paul Brinkle. Welcome, boys. These are two of my guys in my fantasy league here. They're like my
Nice.
second brothers, so great to see them out there. Thanks for supporting, fellas. They must be together and drinking right now. I love it.
Definitely. Well, before you had too many to drink, please like, comment, and drop a nickel on that subscribe button.
Yeah, if you guys haven't subscribed by now, I mean, that's insane. So, and like the video, please.
So I think Taron Johnson's got to stay. I mean, he was a guy that was the article that I read, a potential for a contract extension if you wanted to save a little bit on the cap. I would not. I don't want to see Taron Johnson go. You know how big of a supporter I am of his. I love the guy, love the kid. He's asked to do a lot, and no way do I want to see him go.
Brett, I will respectfully disagree with you on this one. I just think he's too big of a he plays too big of a role on the defense. We play nickel, like Paul said, 95, probably more than 95% of the plays. I mean, we refuse to get out of nickel. And I understand that on some plays he was a liability this year, but he makes up for it, man. He's definitely, I still think he's a top 5 nickel corner in the league. So I think he's worth it. And he's going to get a couple pick sixes this year just for Mike.
I know. I always call it. Again, he could be an extension. If you want to save a little bit on the cap, extend him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and he's young enough. I have no problem with doing that whatsoever.
Yeah.
But no way do I want to see that young man go. No.
Agreed.
Let's see here. Let me go back to your list here. So I think I pretty much agree with everyone else you said would go. Devin Singletary. I think we need to give the man some respect here. $5 million. And look, I've been a huge supporter. Back when Jake joined a couple years ago, he tried to sell me that Zach Moss was the better back, and look how that turned out. Then this year, he bet me that, James Cook was going to have more total yardage than Devin Singletary. I took that bet, and I took it all the way to the bar bill. I'm actually coming to Buffalo. He's going to be buying me a nice dinner.
Yep.
But I said this to Jake, I forget when, $5 million a year. For me, Jake, and this is going to be when we get into draft, don't be surprised if I say, let's go get a big, physical, fast running back. Don't be surprised. Again, all about weapons on that offense, right? How cool would it be to have that change of pace back? Well, maybe not even a change of pace back. Look at these guys that are big, like Pacheco runs a 4.3. There's some guys in the draft that I think that I've seen running backs that are big, 6'4", 230, and they can run like a 4.3, 4.4. I mean, how cool would it be to team one of those folks up? So for me, I loved Devin. He's just not a game changer. I want more of a game changer. And he's steady. Like, if you need a couple yards, that little man somehow figures out a way to get it. But at $5 million, I can't do it, man. And I want to move on to somebody a little bit bigger, not only to be that change of pace back, but also to, bigger, better blocker whenever we need to help out Josh Allen. Your thoughts on Singletary?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think he's a very steady back, but he's not that guy that's going to wow you with a big play or anything like that. I mean, but there is another side of this. So if you do release Nyheim Hines, you save $5 million, then you could maybe bring back Devin Singletary, and then that gives you more security in the backfield. And then you could still draft a guy. So there's always that as well that could potentially happen. But yeah, I mean, if you're just looking at it, $5 million a year, that's a lot of money for a running back. That is not. I mean, he's already been in the league for what? This is going to be his 5th season. So it's kind of a tough call. I think, I think you let him walk and you add some depth on the outside at receiver, or you pick up another slot guy. Love the Scotty Miller idea, Brett. Absolutely love that. I think that'd be incredible. I think you could sign him for pretty cheap. And that's, essentially a younger Cole Beasley. So great.
I'm personally not a fan. I love this one from Paul because you're going to hear me talk about this as a free agent target. Yes, a lot of money. However, again, you work it in such that it's not such a huge hit this year. The guy is 6'4", runs a 4.3. A 4.3, Jake. Can you imagine him and Steph Diggs?
Yeah,
Oh my
that'd
God.
be
I'm
incredible.
I'm I'm all for that. I'm all for that. Good call there, Paul.
I
I
love
know.
it.
Let's see. Got lots of folks out there. I love it. It's time to change the defense up. It's Big Al. Big Al, good to see you. Love that you're out here late on
They
a
just came
Friday
back
night.
from Florida.
Oh
I
man.
literally just picked them up like an hour and a half ago from the airport, Mike. So they just came back to cold old Buffalo. It's 31 degrees right now. I bet it was at least double and then some in Florida. I mean, obviously they were saying I think it was like 80 degrees there. So yeah, they're coming back to this. So
Yeah.
loving life.
So thanks for being on the show, Big Al. I know it's late out there on the East Coast, so appreciate you as always. Let's see. What was this? What then? What did Paul mean here? What then? Run it back. What do we mean there? Is he responding to Big L's time to change the defense up? Not sure.
So let's see here. Maybe he's saying that to Brett because he's saying he wouldn't go after DJ Chark.
Okay, got it.
So that's an interesting point too, because you look at what the Chiefs did. They went out and signed Marquez Valdez-Scantling. He got paid, and I think DJ Chark is a hell of a lot better than Marquez Valdez-Scantling.
Yeah,
So I mean, not a hell of a lot, but I think they're I guess comparable. But DJ Chark's actually had a 1,000-yard season, whereas Marquez Valdez-Scantling, I think, just had his best year in receiving yards this year. So 800 something yards, I want to say, or 700 something yards this year. So I would say I think it's a great target. If we could find a way to do it, I'm all for it. Absolutely. And then you could draft offensive line in the NFL draft. So
So
go
Jake,
that route.
let me ask you this. First of all, DJ Shark, you're going to hear me talk about him on our free agent targets. The only
Yeah.
issue there is that the Lions are 15 million under the cap, so they have some money to work with. And if they want to continue
Right.
to get better, they had a hell of a team last year. I mean, they're starting to roll. They'll probably want a guy that they want to bring back for sure. So it'll be tough to get him away. But I feel the Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen, a wide receiver might be thinking to himself, Goff, Josh Allen, who's closer? Yeah, let me go to Buffalo. I don't know. I'm just saying.
I like it. I like it.
Let's see there. What else we got? Let's see here. We could have some cooking bros in the backfield.
I like that. The chefs, the famous chefs that are at every game, Mike. You see them in the end zone all the time. I think that's what he's referencing here, which is great.
Is BBB Baller Brandon Bean?
Big Baller Bean. Yep.
Oh, Big Baller Bean.
Love
okay.
it. And he says it's 87 degrees there in Florida. Thanks a lot, Brett. Appreciate that. It's 31 right now, and it's considered warm. So for this time of year.
Let's answer the question for Paul.
Yeah, Paul, I have us taking Osiris Torrance. I think he's an absolute stud. 6'5", 347 pounds. Can play guard, super athletic. He can move. And that would replace Roger Saffold, who I think will probably end up just let walk. I think it makes sense. I liked Roger Saffold a lot when we signed him. He's coming off an All-Pro year with the Titans, but it just didn't add up this year. I mean, he was, I don't put a ton of stock into PFF, but just looking on film, I just, I don't know, man. It's, yeah.
Well, guys, I hope you join us because we're going to be doing a lot of draft shows here after this one. This is focused on free agency, but we'd love to answer any of your questions that you have. We can get into some of the draft if you like. But, yeah, we're going to be doing a whole series on drafting. The Bills have six picks this year, 27th in the first round. And we called it last year. We called it with Kyer. We're going to see if we can call it again this year and who that first rounder is going to be. And I agree. This is the question I had for you, and let me ask the channel as well. Are you going to fill all your needs in free agency, try to at least, and then go into the draft to kind of take? Are you a believer? Best player available at number 27.
I don't like it. I think you take the guy that you need most. I understand taking best available player, but sometimes it doesn't always work, and you have too much of a good thing. And the chemistry is just not there. Things don't mesh. Things don't gel right. So I am more on taking the need position. So I think offensive line and receivers. Like I honestly, eventually you probably have to draft a safety as well. I've seen Antonio Johnson being mocked to us in the first round too out of Texas A&M. So that's a possibility we can go there. But quite honestly, I think, Mike, you made a really good point early on, just talking about building up that offense and allocating all of our funds to it. I think the draft is a perfect time to do it and a perfect area to build that team up.
I agree. I mean, there's so many people say, and I think this is the way a lot of GMs like to play it is let me get my team situated, and the draft's just going to add that depth and add to it. So interesting stuff there. And I can't wait to get into the draft. We're going to do some mock drafts. We're going to get into who we think, in every round. And hope you guys are joining us at that time as well. So let's get into draft targets. Again,
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to. I don't think there's going to be a splash play. Obviously, if we signed a guy that we just talked about, which was DJ Shark, that'd be in my mind, my opinion, a splash play. Nothing as big as like Von Miller last year, but we're going to have to make some moves in free agency. And I think there's a few guys out there that may be on the cheap. There's a couple guys that I'm going to mention that may be a little more expensive, but not too expensive, not breaking the bank. But let me start with you, Jake. Why don't we go back and forth here with a player? You give me a target, and I'll give you one of my targets. So go ahead and start.
Sure. I'm going to say this might go against a lot of things. I think everyone's talking receiver, offensive line, running back maybe. I'm going to say go target Mike Gesicki out of Miami. Bring him to Buffalo.
Oh, you're going.
He's unhappy there in Miami. You give
end.
Josh Allen a stud athletic tight end like him. I mean, shoot, let Tommy Sweeney walk, as I talked about earlier. And let's make it happen. Let's get that double tight end set going. We wanted it to happen last year, and obviously it just didn't work out, So I think that's a guy you might want to consider. He's a hell of a weapon. He's fast. He can work the middle of the field. He's a great red zone threat. And I think it's been on Bills fans' minds for a while to maybe go get a guy like him. So I'm gonna throw that name out there. Probably someone you didn't really consider. I know he's going to cost a little bit, but again, it's like a DJ Chark type thing. I mean, tight ends, they're not commanding. I think he'd probably command maybe similar money to DJ Chark. So, and especially as Paul mentioned, that's where we struggle. We struggle in the red zone. Get a guy that can go up and get it.
That's interesting. I'm actually shocked on that. Surprised.
I knew you would be. That was a name that I had in mind. And I'm like, I'm going to throw it out there.
All right, I'm going to do two because, first of all, this guy is not a free agent, but I think we could get him. Yeah. So Case Keenum, gone, right? We said we're not bringing him back. Who could we bring back? There's a guy named Mitch Trubisky over on the Pittsburgh Steelers who is going to be released. There's no way they're going to keep him. He is a $8 million savings to the Steelers if they release him. And the Steelers are $4.2 million over the cap as we sit right now. So bring Mitch over, a younger, more athletic guy. Pay him. What did we pay him a couple years ago? $2 million?
Yeah.
$1 million?
Bring him 1 year's $2 million. So, I think it was $2.5 million. 1 year for $2.5 million.
Just keep an eye on that. He's not a free agent, but if he's released, which I think he will be, why would they keep this guy and pay him $8 million in savings on the cap? I'm releasing that guy because they've moved on with Pickett, so they'll get some other somebody else much cheaper to back up Pickett. I'm going to go, again, since for me it's all about the offense, whether it's a skill position or the line. I'm going to start with a guard. And Saffold from Tennessee was kind of a bust for us. He was kind of past his pass blocking days, good run blocker. But why not stick with Tennessee and bring over a free agent named Nate Davis from the Titans?
Okay. Undersized kid, but he held his own.
Yeah. Third rounder in 2019. You can get him for 3 years, roughly $7.4 million a year. So $22.4 million for 3 years. That's a steal for a guard who's been absolutely fantastic. If you look at his PFF numbers over the last few years, he's been great. And so you're trading, you're getting rid of an older guy, Saffold, for a much younger guy and a better guy. So Davis, a guard, is a guy that I would love to have because we got to replace Saffold. And, we have Bates on the one side. Yes, you could always draft a guard. But for me, Jake, I'm kind of like, it's going to be hard to draft somebody and put them on that line day one.
Right.
No matter who they are. I got Josh Allen. I got a $254 million man back there. I want to protect him. And so I want to get a guy who's got some experience, who's done quite well. And if we're talking guards, Nate Davis comes up. I was looking for guys that don't break the bank. He doesn't break the bank.
Yeah, at only 7 million a year. I mean, you're talking usually your premier guards, you're up in the 10 millions, you're double digit millions. So I agree with that. I think that's a good move, Mike, and it's a good replacement for Roger Saffold. You're going a little bit younger. He's only 26 years old. Like I said, he's a little undersized, but he's been able to get it done, and he's been excellent for Tennessee. So absolutely, I like the move. I think that's pretty solid.
The Titans, by the way, let me also throw in the Titans
Yeah,
are $28 million over the cap, so they're going to be looking to offload some people. They're worse than the Bills right now, 28 million over the cap. So, all right, let me throw it back to you, sir.
All right, so we talked about getting rid of Jordan Poyer. I want you to keep an eye on a name that probably is going to be on the outs in Cincinnati. Jesse Bates, incredible safety for them. He's been fantastic. I don't know what he's going to command in terms of money. I know they just used the franchise tag on him, but they drafted Daxton Hill in the first round, and he's going to be the successor of Jesse Bates, most likely. So I think that's a name that maybe we could bring in and sign him and maybe make it work. You know, I think we can get him for less than 12 million. He's been great in Tennessee, in Cincinnati, and I think he's a proven guy that can come in and play right away. So make a very significant impact. You imagine him and Micah Hyde, that would be awesome. I mean, a great fill-in for Jordan Poyer. It's just kind of swapping one for another, and I don't think there would be much drop-off at all, if any.
So, Brett, I know my computer over here is acting up. I know you have access to Spot Track. It's free for most people. Can you go look up is it Jesse Bates you said?
Yeah, Jesse Bates. Yeah,
Jesse Bates. What's Jesse Bates' market value going to be predicting from Spot Track? Be interesting to know what that number is. So most of my targets, Jake, are on the offensive side. But since you went over to the safety position, I'm going to throw this name out there. And, if you're going to get rid of one Edmonds, why not bring the other Edmonds over?
nice.
Right?
I like
you
it.
got Terrell Edmonds from Pittsburgh. He was a first rounder back in 2018. Maybe hasn't lived up to what they expected, but you look at his PFF numbers, not bad at all. Big guy. He Spot Track has him at a 2-year, $5.4 million a year for $11 million.
That's pretty damn good.
Are you kidding me? If
Yeah.
that's now, listen. Based on what I'm seeing on Spot Track, I believe they're a little low. They're a little on the low side. So it could be a little bit more, but it gives you a good starting point, right? Why not? Why not bring Terrell over?
Yeah, not a bad idea. I like it.
So that's my next move right
One
there.
Edmonds for another. All right.
All right, back over to you, sir. So he's saying Titans. Brett's saying 14 million for your boy Bates.
Yeah.
Annually.
This is a potential, I guess, a potential. Well, we're talking free agents. I was going to say a potential
backloaded
trade.
again. Bring him in. Like I've asked you this question. Look, a lot of people are they don't like kicking things down the can. It can bite you for sure.
Right. Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
But if our Super Bowl window is now, I want to win now.
Yeah.
I want to win now. And if I think I asked you, Jake, last year, I said, hey, if we were to get a Super Bowl this year or next year, and then 3-4 years down the road, this backloading everything starts.
I'll sell my soul for it. I don't care. Do what you got to do now. Get it done.
Get a Super Bowl, right?
Kick the
I'll be
can down
okay.
the road.
Exactly, right?
Yes.
I'll
I
do
get
that.
where the Rams are right now. You look at them; they are in shambles pretty much. But hey, they got that
another
Super Bowl. They got it for
Super
AD.
Bowl.
They got it for Matt Stafford. I think it's a cool moment. So that's all that matters, man.
Yeah, 14 million for Bates. I mean, that would be a great duo back there. But again, for me on that one, I'm focusing on the offense. That's a bit much, but you could, like you said, backload it, and that would be a fantastic duo. My goodness.
Yeah. I mean, it is a lot of money, no doubt about it. But I think for him, it's worth it. You look at Jordan Poyer. Jesse Bates. In terms of age, I think how old is he? He's 25 still. Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think he's that much. I mean, he's pretty young. He's only 25 years old, Mike. So Wake Forest guy too, which, I love my Wake Forest dude. So I think it'd be a match made in heaven, honestly. So I'm all about it. I'm okay with paying that $14 million. I think the conversation with Jordan Poyer is more focused around his age and paying him that much money.
Yeah.
I think if he's, even 3 years younger, I do that all day. It makes sense to me. I prioritize that over Tremaine Edmonds in that case. But I think given that Jesse Bates is only 25, I mean, jeepers, why not? Throw the $14 million at him. It's only $2 more million than Jordan Poyer is going to want.
Yep.
Do it, make it happen. And like you
Yep.
said, we can work with the contract and make it a backloaded type deal and still guarantee it.
Gotcha. I mean, I would love it if it could happen. I would absolutely love it because losing Edmonds, losing Poyer, bringing somebody in that backfield or in the back there and the safety with along with Micah Hyde would help that situation out tremendously.
Yeah.
So your turn here. Let me throw it back to you. Who else you got on your mind?
Yeah, there's a couple names. Looking at there was an interesting thing that came up, and it's actually not even free agency related, but it was intriguing to me. The Packers might be going into a rebuild mode. There's a lot of talk about Aaron Rodgers, leaving, going to the Jets, and that team is just going to be blown up altogether. And there was even talk about moving Aaron Jones. So I know this isn't technically free agent talk, but what if? I mean, I know we're saying running back isn't the first need or anything like that, but Aaron Jones is essentially a receiver as well. What would it take to get a guy like that in a trade? Would we have to trade some draft capital? Would we trade Ed Oliver and pair him with a pick or something like that? I would be okay with that, to be honest with you, because then you get rid of Ed Oliver's cap. You could bring Aaron Jones in. I think he's set to make a little bit of money. He just signed a big extension, like 3 years, 40-something million. But it was an intriguing thing that I saw. I think Bleacher Report talked about maybe the Packers moving Aaron Jones. So just because of the state of that franchise right now. So it's not necessarily a free agent move or anything like that, but could be very, very interesting. And I had to bring it up because I'm like, this would be kind of cool. We could trade, maybe it could be a player for player type trade. I know D tackle for running back doesn't necessarily equate, but could be something kind of interesting down the line. So I don't know how we'd make it work. I just thought it'd be an interesting possibility. I wanted to throw it out and get your thoughts on it. I do have some other players in mind, but just wanted to see what your take on was.
Yeah, definitely a trade is possible there. But for me, for the running back situation, I don't know about you, and again, you watch more college football than I do, but the research I've been doing over the past week and a half, it feels like this running back class this year is stronger than last year's class. Yeah. And there are some big, very big, fast running backs. And I'd love to address that more in the draft. That's my only thought there. Would Aaron Jones be a nice add? Yes. But then again, now he's very similar to James Cook, right? He catches the ball. Cook's younger, obviously. I think they're very similar. So I want a different guy. I want a complement to Cook, not a guy that's pretty much the same type of guy.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's my only thought there.
Yeah. Brett took one of mine, Scotty Miller, because absolutely love that name. But I do think it would make more sense to probably just go ahead and re-sign Jamison Crowder if it's between the two of those things. If it's between the two ideas of signing Scotty Miller or re-signing Jamison Crowder, I say re-sign Jamison Crowder. So that was just the other one that I had.
Got it. All right. Back to me. I'm focusing on that line still. Now we're going to go in a couple right tackles. I'll do two this time, Jake.
Okay.
I'll do two. I got two. I'm going to go for a little more pricey and then maybe a bargain. So right tackle, right? We're all worried about Spencer Brown. Now, I haven't given up on him completely. But if we could bring in a guy in front of him for a few years and let him learn and have him as a depth player, I think that would be fantastic. If we don't replace him at right tackle, hopefully working with Aaron Cromer one more year. And last year was tough. He came off that back surgery. He was late into camp. Yeah, really seemed to regress throughout the year. But he's so athletically gifted, Jake. I know some of the folks say he's undersized, but a lot of the right tackles I've been looking at are pretty much the same size as him. Now, there are some bigger ones, but there's some good ones out there that are about the same size. So anyhow, the first guy I'm going to throw out there is Mike. And again, I might say these names wrong. I meant to look him up and so I can pronounce them right, but you're the guy to help me with that.
I know where you're going with.
Mike McGlinchey from the 49ers. Right. Is that how you say his name? McClinky or McGlinchey?
Mike McGlinchey, yeah.
McGlinchey. Okay.
Love it, but he's going to cost a lot of money.
So Spotrac has him at $11 million a year, 44 years, $11 million.
Yeah.
And again, you could front load that or back load that. So, it's not such a big hit this year.
Right.
And again, I mean, if you're going to protect Josh Allen, he was a first rounder, 9th pick overall in 2018.
Cousins with Matt Ryan. Fun fact.
Now the 49ers, they're only 3.6 under the cap. So they got some things to work on there as well. Might be a potential. Again, that would be a splash as well.
That'd be a great signing. I
Uh,
would
right.
love that.
How awesome would that be? Now, if you don't go after him and you're like, it's just too expensive for us, and this name I really going to have you have to help me with, but he's the right tackle for the Raiders, Jermaine Eluemunor.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm sorry. Do you know how
close.
to say that?
I'm gonna try to pronounce it. Let me see here.
All right. Well, anyhow, let me talk about him. So you can get this gentleman
I
for
think it's
3
just
years.
Eluemunor. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Illuminor.
Yeah.
All right, let's go with it. Sorry, I struggle with the names.
Texas
It's kind
A&M
of funny.
kid. Yeah.
But yes, he was a 5th rounder in 2017. Had a really nice year this year, and you can get him on the cheap. If you can get him for 3 years at $5.6 million a year for only $16 million, why not?
Yeah.
I mean, he had a really, really good year. Now, if you go back in history, I mean, he's only had this year for sure, and then I think a couple of years ago on PFF he had a good year. But there you go. I believe I wish I would have had. Actually, I do.
He's been in the league for a while. He's been in the league since like 2017. Started with the Ravens, I believe. He was an undrafted guy. Kind of worked his way.
Yeah, I want to bring up a little more information on him. By the way, Mike McGlinchey,
Yeah.
6'8", 310.
Yeah, he's a monster. He's a man.
But isn't it the same size as Mr. Spencer Brown? We say
Pretty
he's
similar.
undersized?
Yeah,
310.
pretty similar.
It's pretty similar, right?
And I love Mike McGlinchey. He wears the 1-bar face mask, wears number 69. Freaking love that guy. He's a tough, gritty dude. He's awesome. I mean, it would be incredible to get a guy like that, but it's the question of cap, of course. But
Yep.
I like your thoughts on him, Mike. I really do.
And then Jermaine, right? He's 6'4", 345.
And
Right?
he's played both guard and tackle in his career. He has been, like I said, kind of an interesting career. He's been in the league for 6 or 7 years now. Was a undrafted free agent, signed with the Ravens, kind of bounced around a little bit, finally found his way with the Raiders, and played pretty well. So going to be an interesting name on the market.
So let me compare the two guys that I mentioned, right? Let me compare Jermaine and Mike. I'm saying their first names because I can say their first names really easily.
That's right. Yeah.
But so Jermaine played 940 snaps last year. 583 of them were pass blocking situations.
Yep.
He only allowed 3 sacks. He had 10 penalties called on him. He allowed 3 hits, and his total pressures were 26. Now compare that to the guy you're going to pay more money for, which would be Mike, right? Mike McGlinchey. And let's see here. McGlinchey now. 10 penalties, the same. He played 1,036 snaps, a little bit more, and he played a little more in the pass blocking scheme, 561 snap count compared to, what did I say Jermaine's was? Jermaine's was 583. It's not a whole bunch more, but he gave up 6 sacks, allowed 3 hits, and 27 total pressures. Now, he played a few more snaps, but those numbers are very similar. You're talking about playing a guy much more. But again, McGlinchey was a first-round pick, right? He's worth every dime you're going to pay him. But I'm just saying, if you can't get him, you want somebody on the cheap, take a look at Jermaine.
Yeah, not a bad idea at all, especially if we're going to get rid of David Quessenberry. It makes sense, Mike.
Yeah, and I think both of us said that on our when we went through the 24 that we're not bringing him back. So, anyhow, I'm looking for a guy. Obviously, we can draft right tackle as well, right? We can do that, and I think they should.
Yeah.
But again, if you draft a rookie right tackle, are you going to put him out there on the field day one? Maybe
it's tough.
Maybe not. It depends.
Paul made good mention of a kid, Matthew Bergeron, kid out of Syracuse. We could take him in the second round. That's a potential. And then I think if you do that, you take a receiver probably in the first round. I'm big on Zay Flowers. I'm all on the Zay Flowers train now just because of how he works in space. And I think he's like at his peak could be like Antonio Brown level. That's how good I think this kid could be. Very similar in size too. He's like 5'10", $180. Not your prototypical outside guy, but he can play outside. He can play inside. So gives you a nice, unique ability. So, but yeah, just talking about the tackle position, I mean, there are some options. Broderick Jones out of Georgia could be a first rounder. There's a couple other names too, but I think there's some good ones that could definitely fill in at right tackle and play day one.
Okay. Do you have anyone else, or I have a couple more I can go through? I have about
I don't. No,
three
actually, I
more.
really don't. I don't want to sign. I don't really want to pay too much attention to free agency, Mike. I think we can build through the draft. There's a lot of good names this year. I know people are saying it's a weaker draft class in certain spots, but
Hmm.
I think we can do some things to obviously acquire draft picks. I mentioned trading Ed Oliver. You could trade him straight up for a couple picks. So there's a possibility there too. But yeah, go ahead and name some others.
All right. So let's say Mitch Morse says, I'm done. I'm
Yeah.
ready to retire. I'm not fully confident that we can move Bates over. I know Bates can play center. Not fully confident that I want that to happen right away, especially if I'm talking about making that offense better. So I might go after a guy. So if Mitch retires and we save that $6 million in cap space, I may utilize that for a guy, the center from the Browns, Ethan. I'm probably going to say his name
Ethan
wrong.
Pocic. Yeah.
Posey, whatever the hell.
Yeah.
Posey, it's spelled Poci. I mean,
Yeah.
anyhow, looking at him, 4 years. Spotrac has him at 7.2 million a year, 28 million over 4 years. That's not bad for a center. For a center that's young, he was a
That's
second
pretty
rounder
good.
in
He's a second round
2017.
pick out of LSU too. I mean, he was,
Yeah, yeah. And the Browns are currently over the cap 19 million. So they're going to be looking up to free up some space. You can argue they got Deshaun Watson and they're going to want to have a strong center in front of him. But there's a guy. I don't think that's overspending right there
No, that's
for a
not
guy.
bad.
If Morse says I'm not coming back, that would be the only
Right.
opportunity I would look at this guy. And obviously, if Mitch does say he's coming back, I don't know if I'd draft a center because you do have that backup in Bates. I think right tackle and guard are a little bit more important. And I do
Absolutely.
believe that, again, when we get to the draft stuff, hell, as long as it's an offensive player, whether it's line or skill position, a receiver, a running back. I know you went tight end here with Gesicki, but I'm good with it.
Yeah, I figured I'd throw it for a little bit of a loop. That's all.
Right. So just two more. The other two that I have, we already talked about DJ Shark. That again would be a big splash play, but my goodness, would that elevate this team all of a sudden with Stephon Diggs and DJ Shark, who can go. He runs a 4.3.
Yeah.
The dude can run a 4.3, and he's 6'4".
He's acrobatic as hell too. He can make some tough
Gosh, again,
catches.
the Lions have a lot of cap space, so they're probably going to work to bring him back. But hey, why not reach out to him, at least talk to him a little bit, see where his head's at, and would he like to play?
I love it.
Josh Allen throwing the ball.
Yeah.
The last one I have, again, I didn't focus much on defense because, as I said earlier in the show, it's all about offense for me. I did mention the Terrell Edmonds safety. He's on the cheap. He's not bad. Not a bad signing. We did talk about Benford moving there. But my last player I'm going to mention is perfect for the rotation style that the Bills like to play in defense. A little bit older. You know who I'm going with. He's been a thorn in the Bills' side.
I know exactly where you're going.
And I'm talking
Hell
Melvin
yeah.
Ingram. Melvin Ingram, bring him in. Last year, 6 sacks, 2 of them against the Buffalo Bills.
Yep.
The guy can still bring the pressure, rotate him in. And again, you're going to have to ask, we got so many edge guys. Something's got to give. He's also a linebacker, so anyhow, maybe he doesn't always play the edge, but he can bring the heat still. And I think that would be just a great ad on the cheap. He was paid $4 million last year by the Dolphins. Probably a similar amount. Would he be looking for? Maybe a little less. I don't know. He's getting up there in age, but I would love to see him over here. I'm tired.
So here's
of
a
seeing
good
him.
question then.
Yeah.
Would you rather sign him than re-sign Shaq Lawson?
Shaq had a good year last year.
He did.
So Shaq's going to be commanding probably. I think we paid him 1.8. We paid him pretty
Yeah,
cheap.
we didn't pay him much.
Shaq's going to get more money this year based on what he did last year.
Right.
Shaq played extremely well during the middle of the 2/3 of the season. Like during the middle of the season, I felt he was coming on strong. Towards the back end of the season, I think a lot of it, once Von Miller went out, I think a lot of the guys kind of slipped or regressed a little bit. So that's
Right.
a good question for me. Based on what I saw of Shaq Lawson last year, I can live with it. Let me bring some heat. I want some more heat. We didn't get any heat. Where was the heat in that Cincinnati Bengal game? Where was the heat? After Von Miller left, we thought Epinesa would step up. We thought Boogie would step up. We expected Rousseau to step up. It just seemed to not happen as far as getting to the quarterback. So for me, I'm taking Edmonds. I'm putting that money towards
I think
him.
I'm actually the opposite. I think I'm taking Shaq Lawson over Melvin Ingram just because Melvin Ingram has been specifically just a pass rush specialist, and I'd rather allocate my funds towards a guy that can do both. I know he's not necessarily as good of a pass rusher as Melvin Ingram, but he plays extremely well in the run game too, and he brings some juice. He's younger, so I think that's where I'm gonna roll the other side. But I love it, Mike. This is a great conversation.
How old is he now?
I think he's 20. Well, he's drafted in what, 2017? 2016, because he was Rex's pick.
Okay.
He's 28, Shaq Lawson.
Okay.
And he's going to be, let's see, so he turns 29 in June. So he'll be 29 at the beginning of the year. And then Melvin Ingram, I know he's in his 30s. He's 33 right now. And let's see. Yeah, he's going to be turning 34 in April. So we're talking a 5-year gap between the two.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. I'm sticking with mine, and you stick with yours, and I'm good with either one, honestly.
Yeah.
I just, Ingram, I just seen him he just makes some good
Every
good
time.
plays. Especially
Every
against
damn
us.
time. Yep.
Especially against us.
Yes.
You know what's crazy? We're pretty much done. That was all I have. I did have one note that maybe you know, maybe you don't. There's a guy out there, 41 years old, still available at right tackle. You might want him, Jake, because you love this guy. I know.
Yeah.
He used to play for the Bills. Jason Peters.
Would be cool. Would be really cool. I mean,
dude, he's still out there. Are you
he had to play
kidding
left
me?
tackle this year. He had to play left tackle this year for the Cowboys.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, he's still getting it done. He's a Hall of Famer. I mean, this guy, he's been one of the best left tackles of our generation. Over the last decade here and last 15 years, really. Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. He left the Bills as he was getting into his prime. I mean, kind of would be cool to reunite him with the franchise. Maybe win a
41.
ring.
I wonder do you know what the oldest lineman was or is?
I think it was Bruce Matthews. Actually, it might be Jason Peters now. I think he may have topped him, but Bruce Matthews was up there because I think he played well. Jesse Slater.
Okay.
I think it's Jesse Slater. Yeah. I want to say it's Jesse Slater. It's close though. Jason Peters is right up there, right? Because he's going to be 41. He might actually have topped it. But it's between those three guys. I know Jesse Slater played like 19 years. He played his entire career with the Rams.
Yeah.
So that's amazing to play one full career with the same franchise. Let me see. I actually want to see that because that is.
I'd be curious I'm going to look real quick and see what his PFF numbers were. Let's see. You said he played for Dallas last year?
Yep.
All right, let's take a look real quick and see what PFF rated him last year. Okay, let's go here.
Yeah, this is really interesting. I'm trying to look this up too.
And he played tackle, right? Jason Peters. So he didn't play, obviously, a full year for them.
Jackie Slater, by the way. I don't know. I am off with my names today, Mike. Jackie Slater. That's who I meant to say. But
my God, dude.
played from 76 to 95 with the Rams. That's incredible.
So Peters he just played 260 snaps at the tackle position last year. Rated a 70. I mean, all his years. It's incredible if you look at the PFF grades for this man all the way back to 2005.
Yeah.
My goodness. And he's 6'4", 328, 4.93 speed. I'm not sure he can run that fast at age 40.
He was a tight end when he came into the league.
I'd be
out of
shocked
Arkansas.
if he could run that fast.
Right.
But anyhow, interesting. I saw that stat. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? The man is still playing.
That is pretty awesome.
Get him on the cheap. Bring him on in.
Right? So Jackie Slater did play in one game in 95 at age 41. He started one game.
Okay.
It was the only game he played all year. It was when the Rams actually moved to St. Louis. He played in one game. So Jason Peters is just behind him.
So Peters, he plays this year.
Gotta break that record.
Break the record.
Jackie Slater, man.
Somebody will sign him.
Yep. Matthew Slater's dad, actually, Jackie Slater.
Nice. All right, well, that's it. We tried to keep it to 45 minutes. That was our goal. Obviously, we went over an hour.
Not bad, though.
Not too bad for us. Hopefully, it was as entertaining for you as it was for us. We love talking the Bills. Again, we're going to bring you a show once a week. Gonna have to switch it up as far as what days we do it, because Jake and I have family life, and it's kind of hard to, both of us to be available. But we'll figure out a day sometime each week. Going forward, I see us talking about the drafts. We're going to start doing some draft targets. We'll probably have a show for each position, Jake. And we could do it all in one, but I think we break it up. It'd be nice and small for folks. They don't have to stick around for an hour to hear everything. But yeah, we'll break down the draft, who the targets are for us. We'll do some mock drafts. Those are always fun. If any of you are up for joining us, we'd love to have you. So closing thoughts, Jake?
I love, some of the names that we threw out there today. I think there's still a lot of potential. I think people are expecting it not to be such a crazy offseason, but it's the NFL. The NFL never sleeps. The NFL always makes top headlines no matter what. The Bills could be in the mix again. You never know what might happen. There's a lot of potential to acquire some great players this offseason. I don't think it's time to panic or anything like that. I know the cap looks pretty terrible. The dire situation that we have right now could be turned into something great. And I still have a lot of faith in Brandon Beane. So let's ride, baby. Let's do it.
I have faith in him too. And I know you're kind of looking past free agency. I don't want to sleep on it. I think we can get a couple.
Yeah. You made some really good points about backloading, restructuring, a lot of things. So, yeah.
So hopefully we, again, it won't be any splash plays. I don't see that happening. But hey, if we get any of those names that I mentioned, I'd be super happy.
It'd be awesome.
Looks like I'm about to choke, so it's a good time to end the show.
He's getting emotional that the Bills aren't playing Sunday.
Well, that too. But we're going to end it. I love this video, so I keep playing it all the time. This is something to look forward to next year when the Bills come back strong. Everyone who joined us tonight, thank you so much. If you're new to the channel, comment, like, and most importantly, smash, drop a nickel, drop 10 nickels on that subscribe button for us. We greatly appreciate it, and we'll see you soon.
Go Bills.
Bills Mafia, circling the wagon, you feel me? Nickel City Mafia, let's go!
Josh Allen, quarterback supreme, leading the Bills to the top of the league. Weapons by his side, and that defense hella mean. Buffalo's got a team that must be seen. I said Buffalo's got a team that must be seen. Yeah. Come on. J17 leading the charge. Buffalo Bills on the rise. Passing game on point. Ain't no mirage. Happening right in your eyes. Ain't no surprise. Buffalo stacking the QB. Stephon Diggs holding in the pass. Group cards in. Have to go deep. We're circling wagon. Just wait and see. From Wyoming to the NFL, Josh Allen's got the skills. Air raid, deep ball, touchdown for real. Leading the Bills to playoff drills. Real time. This ain't no drill. Cold game. We're giving them chills. Check the score. Now you know the deal.
Nickel City Mafia.